There are a few things finer in life than beer.
But have you ever wondered how that golden goodness was made?
Then hop on board with Hop On Brewery Tours.
We'll take you behind the scenes of local breweries, show you the fascinating brewing process, and even find the right beer for you.
With full and half-day tour options available, Hop On Brewery Tours offer the most fun, educational, and unique day out in Brisbane or on the Gold Coast.
Change your perception of beer with Hop On Brewery Tours, Queensland's original craft beer tours. Visit hoponbrewerytours.com.au today.
So, are you ready to hop on?
Remember, always drink responsibly.
Every business knows they need great marketing, but it's often hard to know what works and what you should be doing, let alone finding the time to do it. Abby and her team at Crisp Communications take all this hassle away, creating beautiful marketing that helps businesses put their best foot forward. They don't just deliver great results, they're also super easy to work with and practice what they preach with great communication all along the way. So if you need a new website, new branding, new brochures, or even help with your podcast, head to crispcoms.co to find out more.
Kick looks all right. Joe Danaher standing up in the big moments. Those that were here will never forget what they saw. Brisbane just had unfinished business to attend to at the MCG.
The Lions produce a domination to make the golden era proud. The premiership is going back to Brisbane.
From walking on thin ice to dancing on the mountaintop, the Brisbane Lions never stopped believing.
It is the Brisbane Lions FanCast. We're back for our second episode of 2025, and we got some footy to talk about, Patrick. It is all thanks to our good friends at Hop On Brewery Tours and Crisp Communications, proud sponsors of the Brisbane Lions FanCast again for 2025. Good to be back. We have our first little taste of footy that we can scrutinise to within an inch of its life. You can take from it what you will, whether that be nothing or everything. Let's find a nice little bit in the middle where we can probably take something away from it and look ahead to our game against Adelaide this Thursday night. But you will know that we're in your feeds a little bit later than normal. I got to recycle that Simpsons meme with the Lionel Hutz of no delays. You can catch that at our social pages. Patrick, would you care to explain why we're late?
A day late, dollar short.
Yeah.
I just had some family that I had to go and see. It was nice. I haven't seen them in years, so everyone can get with the program and just let me have my Sunday evening to visit some family. So I am a person with a soul and heart. Most of you won't believe that. So,
all right. Well, it is good to be back, and like I said, we do have some footy to talk about. Match sim in the three-way playoff between the Suns and the Pies, and we will have a chat about how that all went down. We got to play the first couple of halves, or sixth or whatever. Who knows?
Well, it's definitely not sixth. That's not. I mean.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Yeah. Anyway.
I mean, it is in six, but it would have been the first four sixths, not the first 2 sixths. But technically, we did play the first 2 sixths anyway. So
we had our best 22 up against Collingwood's best 22, give or take, and then we still had a fair amount of first string players playing in that second half against the Suns, but there was definitely a few lineup changes that were noticeable. Brandon Starcevic, a noticeable absentee for the whole 4 quarters. Hipwood, another one who you'd think is probably going to be there. It looks like Link McCarthy is probably going to play this Thursday against Adelaide. Those are probably the biggest names that we're missing from what we know to be our strongest team. But straight off the bat, there's two things I want to mention right here. Ty Gallup is something to be fairly excited about. I mean, he's continued his work from the intra-club into a match against genuine opposition and looked good, aside from the fact that he gave away that goal to Lachie Neale, who pumped one from 50 and he knocked over Mac Andrew on the goal line, which was a bit of a pisser. And the second thing is our midfield rotation group is mouth-watering, to say the least. The amount that we could have running through there at any given time is silly, but it certainly looks like our first choice midfield, going on a very limited amount, is Ashcroft, Dunkley, Neale seems to be the first choice.
Yeah, first off, I want to say bold of you to assume that I watched it all, but I did. So I took out my KO subscription, was not given the liberty of a $1 free or $1 a month, like advertised, as it were. But no, it was good to watch some football. Highlight of the preseason is Tom Rockcliffe on commentary, because it is dreadfully great.
It is, isn't it?
I reckon if they spent more time commentating, him and the other fella, other JB or other BT or some?
Yeah, it was another BT. Yeah.
They could go somewhere. I reckon it's not too bad.
Right. Okay.
Not too bad.
Sure.
They'd obviously learned little from last year, but yeah, it was tasted good all the same. Yeah, I mean, I must admit, you kind of touched on it before, like having more of the more established players play kind of out the at least 3.5 quarters was a surprise. I thought they'd make a lot of changes. You forecasted, seeing some of the more fringe players, and although we did to a slight degree, far less than we thought. So maybe they're really just trying to get the match sim into the players that are going to be there on round 0, just to make sure that it's all there and all ready to happen. So, the midfield group looked good. I mean, they were matching up on Nick Dacos, Crisp.
Yeah, Crisp was in there. No Degoe.
And then they had a new younger fella, and I mean, they look a bit disjointed, but we looked pretty well oiled, and the trademark run off the back of the square by Zorko to make the extra number was really effective.
Yep.
And it helped us really kind of gain the ascendancy and lock the ball in, and it was kind of like pretty much, pretty interesting. One thing of note was kind of some of our kicks inside 50, although there were quite a few turnovers in that, at least the Collingwood game. They seem to be a lot lower and flatter, as if we're kind of maybe catering for a slightly smaller forward line. But, I mean, it's really hard to tell at this point in time.
Yeah.
But, I mean, you're really in these things looking for almost like body composition and just whether they look fit or not, and they looked fit, so that's good.
I think the big question that everyone's had on their mind over the last 4 or 5 months is, what that forward line's going to look like without Danaher, who's going to step up and take the reins, or is it going to be a case of a smaller forward line, as you said there? And Logan Morris looked really good. Like, his work in the contest was good. He's obviously put on a couple of kilos. His second efforts were probably what impressed me the most. Like, if he dropped a mark, he was right back up real quick, putting pressure on, or, getting a hand in on the ball to try and lock it in a little bit more. Rayner looks more of a forward marking type. Jeez. Rayner looked more of a forward marking type. He obviously kicked a few goals. And Ty Gallup, as I already touched on, he looks like a good future prospect. Just the fact that he's 19 and he's already, quite a solid boy. Like, he'd have a couple of kilos than Logan Morris already, so that's something to look forward to.
His work at ground level was good too. I think like his first goal was, a nice crumb out of a marking contest, so that was really cool.
No Darcy Fort, which was a little bit of a surprise. I'm not really sure what the story with that was. I thought if he would get a little bit of game time there. Tunstall got some game time. Dev Robb got some game time as well. A couple of those second stringers. McKenna looked good. I thought Ainsworth's game was really, really good. I know it's match sim, and you can take from it what you want, but I thought Ainsworth and Bailey particularly, I thought they played really good.
Yeah, it's really hard to sort of arrow in and read it. I must admit, like, the Collingwood game, we looked really good. I did see the results before I went back to watch it, so when we stayed on and Gold Coast, obviously were fresh, it made a little bit more sense as to why there was a disparity in the kind of scoreline in that. Gold Coast were kind of unnecessarily rough. Not rough, just, I don't know, it just seemed unnecessarily niggly and stupid for this time of year. They seem to be going after Levi, which is like cool, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, as I put up on our Twitter or X or whatever, I think Levi will be better for it the long run. He definitely got the welcome to the AFL treatment from, specifically Ben Long and Leo Lombard, who's now going to be missing the first few months of the AFL season. It's hard to feel.
I'm not one to injury cheer, but sucked in.
Yeah, it is a little bit like that. I don't mind.
But can you explain to me, sorry, the Ben Long thing? So someone said that Ben Long has a memory or something like that. What's the go with that?
I honestly couldn't tell you.
Just Tom Rockcliffe being weird?
Yeah, very possibly. Maybe he was just touching on the fact that it's just Q Clash and there's been a historic spice in the games, but this is February match sim. I don't necessarily, if I'm a Gold Coast fan and I'm watching that, I don't mind it at all. For where you're at, for where you've been, for what you're trying to prove, a little bit of like aggression and instilling a winning formula for that club is not a bad thing for those guys. So if you're a Gold Coast fan, I mean, yes, you rue the fact that you come away with injuries, and you don't need that in February, and especially from your like prize pick in Leo Lombard, but to instill that sort of, like I said, aggression and winning behaviour is it can't be a bad thing for them.
Yeah, we'll agree to disagree.
I mean, it's obviously dumb, and I'm glad we didn't do it.
No, it's
but we're looking to get different things.
It harps back to sort of 2018, 2017, where there were sort of times where our blokes might go in unnecessarily hard, and it's like you haven't really earned the right to do that yet. And it kind of makes you look like a bit of a dick. So, and that's coming from me, of all people. So, all in all, it's fine. We got through it all good. It's going to be interesting leading into this week. I'm excited to see them play. All quarters.
And we'll have a bit more of an idea of what our actual structure and our starting 23 looks like, and we will get to that. That's obviously going to be the topic of the day is our starting 23 for opening round against Geelong. But I thought Berry and McClugg's roles were a little bit different. Like Berry sort of is still playing that mid-wing, but drifting back and helping out the defense a little bit more. He was playing that towards the back half of last season. Once Will Ashcroft came back into the fold, Berry's role changed. I think that has sort of continued. Looking at that match sim game, Klug spent a bit more time outside rather than inside. The last couple of seasons, he's been a genuine inside mid. After being a genuine winger, it looks like he's gone back to that wing role, and I think that's come with Will Ashcroft being in the team a little bit more as well. But he certainly got his fair share of CBAs as well. So, those roles were a little bit of a change without being a drastic change. Like I said, I think Bailey adjusted into his role a little bit more as well, and McKenna looked pretty good as well.
Yeah, no, not too much to disagree with there. Like, I think you're always looking for the midfield group to be at least 4 or 5 that are genuine, and we're lucky enough to have 4 or 5 that can go through and be like genuine. I mean, if not A graders, B plus graders to go through there. Like, you'd have to be a fool not to consider Neil Dunkley. I mean, Ashcroft, he won a Norm Smith medal, He's an A grader.
Yeah.
McCluggage. So you've got at least 4 there, so pick another. And we're good to go, it'll be good for the team. We've talked about it at length at other times and in previous years of how having a strong, rotating list of people going through can just tire the hell out of other teams that might have 3 guys that are good.
Yeah.
If you look at some of the other teams, but I mean, it's a match sim. It is what it is. And we beat Collingwood, so sucked in to them.
Collingwood's ball movement was noticeably quicker, I thought on Thursday night. I thought ours hadn't changed a huge amount, but I thought Collingwood's ball movement was noticeably quicker. They wanted to give the handball off almost every chance they got. And I hate to say this, but Nick Dacos looked really good.
Yeah, probably. No champion data to count his turnovers, so...
The other person we should have a chat about because, we should. Levi Ashcroft, we touched on him already. He played a good portion of the second half. He largely spent a lot of time at CBAs and running around with Noah Anderson, which I think will be a great learning experience for him. 17 touches and a half of footy is not bad. Obviously, that goal assist that's been thrown around all over social media is, it was completely out of his ass, but still fun for the highlight reel.
It's a bit like if you're going to put Will's goal of the year next to that one. One of them was intentional and one of them was just a skewed kick off the side. But, benefit of the doubt and all. But, I didn't really... I must admit, I got a little bit bored by the end of that game. It was just sort of... They were plodding along and Gold Coast were looking pretty good. And I just want to see... I want to see him play in a game in the season. I know that sounds insane and I should provide slightly better reading into it or analysis or whatever you want to call this. But, Gold Coast looked pretty bloody good too. So
yeah, they did. Yeah. So obviously the pressure is on them again for however many years in a row to finally make finals, potentially win a final. So they have said that finals is par. So anything else is a failure for those guys. But I tried to do, and this was just for myself because it's this time of year where everyone's putting up their, predicted top eights. I genuinely avoid those, but I tried to do one, and fuck, it's hard. Trying to squeeze like 13 or 14 teams into a top eight.
You can give me some homework to try and do it before next week, but hard pressed to
it's impossible. I've got 4 teams that I know. Well, I say I know. There's 4 teams I reckon are no shot of making the 8, maybe 5, but everyone else is a genuine chance for me anyway.
Let's see, who are the teams who've gotten this gosh darn sport? So Sydney, they make it. Geelong, GWS, Lions.
It's easy to... It's like...
Hawthorn.
Yep.
Port Adelaide and Fremantle. That's only 7. Plus another one, whatever.
Well, you've missed out on Carlton, Geelong.
Sorry, I thought I said Geelong. So Geelong, throw Geelong in there.
The 4 I know, I keep saying I know. The 4 I think are no shot. Obviously, Richmond, West Coast, North, Saints, and maybe Essendon. But everyone else is a live chance for me. I think Adelaide can rise up. I think the D's can go back in there. Like the top 8 from last year, Freo, Gold Coast. Everyone's a shot out of those, so it's really going to be difficult for me.
Just earmark this bit when it ends up being a top 7 for some reason, and I've forgotten a team. That would be just like that. But yeah, we'll see. I might do a proper one and get back to you.
It's hard. It is hard. I'll tell you that. Hey, Sam Day.
Well, I found it relatively easy, so
Sam Day, he is, I guess, and we will get into this a little bit more. We've got plenty of questions to get through, and I guess we will be talking about our opening round, first 22, 23. Sam Day is probably the fella that is going to be taking that Danaher role, at least early on. Henry Smith has had the interrupted preseason. He's not going to get a crack at it. We brought Sam Day in. I think he will be playing opening round. He plays the backup ruck. He's a key forward. He provides contest. He didn't exactly inspire me with a huge amount of confidence in match sim. He played up the ground a lot, so he didn't really get a huge look at it inside the forward 50. That was largely left to sort of Rayner, Gallup and Morris. What were your thoughts on his performance?
Unnoticeable. Largely. I know that's very, very succinct. I must admit, I was like, hold on, has Josh Walker come out of retirement here? What's going on here? When he lined up to go in the ruck, I a bit lost my mind and then was like, actually, wait, no, that's our fella. He's got a fair boot on him, lining up that shot from 50. So that's good. Yeah. But it's just, to me, he's a structure piece, and it might provide some completely no frills consistency that maybe Joe Dan didn't have, but also it will be far less fun when it's good.
Well, that's it. Yeah, he's a more consistent footballer aside from injuries, but nowhere near as talented or miraculous at the same time. So it's a bit of give and take with that. And yeah.
Well, the floor ceiling things. Joe Dan had a extraordinarily high ceiling with a quite low floor from time to time, and Will Day's got his floor's not much higher than Joe's, but his ceiling is not much higher than his. But yeah, maybe I'll be completely proved wrong, and I'm more than happy with that. But I mean, if he's playing up the ground and we're having sort of Rayner, Morris, Hipwood play kind of one-on-one, a la sort of Fagan's paddock, which is not alliteration and doesn't really work. But maybe that's kind of a new way forward for the forward line, kind of in transition and stuff like that. So,
well, it's also hard to know because Hipwood didn't play as well, because normally Hipwood is that playing up the ground type of operator. So maybe Sam Day was filling that role for that match sim game, and Morris and Gallup were your stay-at-home forwards. Whereas once Hipwood's back into the mix, Sam Day might be your more stay-at-home forward, play backup ruck, which is probably more likely in my eyes. But geez, Sam Day is your number one key forward, taking the best defender every week. He creates a contest. There's one thing you can say. He is a good contested mark. He does create a contest, and he's a fairly reliable shot on goal. So
he's also a pretty big boy, right? Yeah. And I mean, the thing is if you've kind of got someone that's less good taking the best defender, you know, if he's on Sam Taylor, you're kind of like, okay, cool, we're not exactly trading much there. Like, you're potentially taking Sam Taylor out of the game to have him be on him. So, you know, that works for me.
We'll see. I mean, like I keep saying, we'll get a better idea this Thursday when we take on Adelaide, and obviously a much better idea in a couple of weeks' time at the Gabba on Thursday night. So it's all a little bit wait and see at the moment. Match sim is such a tough one to take away anything from. Like, Sydney look indestructible at the moment. Adelaide look indestructible going off match sim games, but who the hell knows? It's match sim.
I mean, Sydney also looked indestructible for most of last season, but they certainly were destructible.
Sydney are in the awful position of, it doesn't matter how fucking good you are, you need to prove your point on grand final day now. Like, nothing else really matters, because it's been a couple of times for them where they've just shit the bed. So their credentials will prove themselves on grand final day if it comes around again. Footy tipping. Let's touch on this. The tipping comp is open. We've got the best part of 30 people involved so far.
We got 40, baby.
Jeez, wow, Well, there you go.
I just checked right now because I'm that vain.
If you want to get involved in this, our official Brisbane Lions FanCast footy tipping competition is open. The link is available via our website, brisbanelionsfancast.com.au. So it's something to look forward to. Have you put your tips in already, or are you going to wait until, you know, teams come out in a week and a half or whatever?
No, I got to do it on Sunday night on the podcast.
That's right. Yeah, I forgot about that. So if you want to get involved in that, head to the website. The link is one of the first ones there. You can't miss it. We've posted a bunch in our socials, and I'll do it again as well.
I will also just say that phonetically it is Yankee, Kilo, 6, 4, Whiskey, V, don't remember what that one is.
Victor.
Charlie, Foxtrot. Victor, there you go. So almost got it. I don't work for the Navy, so whatever.
Lovely. All right, well, before we move on from the match sim, is there any other little pieces you wanted to touch on, or particular players? Like I said, I thought Answorth was impressive. I thought Bailey was really impressive. Rayner up forward impressed me. The midfield rotations was really, really good. Other than that, it was business as usual.
Zorko impressed me.
Yeah.
And it was good to see O running around. So
yeah, it was good to see him back. Definitely. All right, so I don't expect a huge amount of change for this game against Adelaide. I did remember Fags saying that Link may be available for this game potentially, so we might see him in the mix a little bit more, which will be good to see for sure, and what sort of role he's going to play with that forward structure and how that's going to look. I thought Jasper Fletcher was really good as well. I thought he was really impressive across the 4 quarters, 4 periods, whatever.
You know, it was not impressive. It wasn't a 3-sided field.
That's fine.
That was a disappointment.
Yeah, that just screams of ACLs.
Yeah, I mean, 3-way AFL. It's like this weird Jackie Chan film I watched back when I was a kid, where it was a bit like that. But I don't remember anything about it or what it was called, and it might have been a fever dream. But if anyone else remembers that one with some sort of giant egg on top of what was almost like a Ferrero Rocher tower, and there were 4 teams and they had to put the ball in a bag on a table.
Jesus.
That was wild. So
Right.
this has gone right off the deep end.
No, I
if
like
anyone listening can remember what that Jackie Chan film is, please let me know.
Yeah, okay. I'm keen now, actually, just hearing that brief description of it. A couple of bits of random AFL news before we get into our questions. 2 bits, obviously, and I will be interested to get your thoughts on this one because I know your thoughts on the Carlton Football Club. Jagger Smith has done his ACL, which, I mean, that sucks. Your number 1 pick coming into a season already blowing his knee out in the lead up to the season. That's not what you want. Looks like they're already in a bit of injury strife for 2025. I mean, I don't really like. What do you think? Like, that just sucks for them.
Yeah, that would be, your knee would hurt. That's what I think about that. I mean, it's a bit of a kick in the teeth to sort of trade up and find it. I mean, they lucked their way into pick 3 somehow. I can't even remember who they traded to get that.
It was with West Coast.
Yeah, but they I don't know. Currency does not seem to work the same way with some clubs as it does others. I mean, he was interesting in some of the Vic Metro stuff that I watched last year.
Yep.
Seemed like a nice person, but then again, he goes to Carlton. So can you really bank on a person's personality when that's what happens? But yeah, no, that sucks. But you move on.
And
He'll
obviously,
come back.
The number 1 pick, Sam Lawler, with his concussion and fractured jaw, after getting crunched in a marking contest, after getting a nice little shove from Ruben Jimby.
Beautiful. Yeah, no, not good either. But
No.
they're playing him too young.
Will Ashcroft got a $2,000 fine for his cheeky little elbow on Matty Rowell.
Come on. Does Mac Andrew get one for staging with that goal line thing on Ty Gallop? Because
Yeah, that was a bit
he
pissed.
felt like a sack of shit too.
He
But
did.
tell you what, someone that we've talked about over the past couple of years that looked a little bit. I mean, he still looks different, and we said the same thing last year. Bailey Humphrey, he roosted the ball from like 60 meters, and it cleared the goal by a mile.
He looked good, Bailey Humphrey. He's set for a big year.
Well, we've said kind of in this weird Gold Coast project that he's kind of the one that at least I earmarked as like that proverbial like Dustin Martin role within their team, the ability to float forward, and he's got bags of talent, and he could be on for a good year, but hopefully not when he plays against us.
Yeah, no, he looked really good. There was a number of those players like Cloese looked good as well. Bodie Euland, those players coming into their 2nd and 3rd year for the Gold Coast, they all looked really impressive. So
Bodie Euland's really good.
I'm excited.
Yeah, they got some really really talented guys. So
I'm excited for him.
yeah.
I'm excited for him. All right,
but it's cool.
Let's get into some questions thanks to Crisp Communications, crispcoms.co. We've got a fair amount to get through. So let's start with Jimmy, who sent one through our SpeakPipe. You can always do that. Links available at our website, brisbanelionsfancast.com.au.
Hi guys, Jimmy here. Die-hard supporter of the mighty Lions. Big fan of the show too. I'm just coming in with a question here from a lot of people in the media that said that we couldn't win a flag with Joe Danaher and Hipwood as our forward line. Now that obviously we've won a premiership, and obviously Joe, without him we wouldn't have won. Let's be honest, you really come up clutch in a couple of those finals, and really delivered for us. And then now you can already see the narrative that they're writing that now that Joe's retired and moved on, that now we can't win without him. And so I'd just like to hear your thoughts. And I think that Sam Day can fill that role, and with bringing in a couple of young guys like Ashcroft and McCarthy will be coming back from his knee, I feel like our forward line can function, and I think we can go back to back. So I'd just like to hear your thoughts. Cheers, fellas. Go Lions.
Right, thoughts. It is the question that everyone's been pondering over the last 4 months, and I must admit, I have been filled with a little bit of a sense of dread of like, okay, we've got the premiership now. That's obviously amazing, but it is going to be hard to back up without Joe, because he was so instrumental, especially in that GWS game, of course. But if there's anyone that knows this situation, back to front, it is Chris Fagan, who, saw Lance Franklin leave after their first premiership in 2013. They go on to win the next two. So he knows what this is all about. The forward group they had around him at that stage, what was it? Roughhead, Gunston, Piopolo, Rioli, Bruce. Yeah, so I think it's, Hipwood is your Roughhead, and Logan Morris is your Gunston, and then you've got Raina Bailey, Lohman, McCarthy, Charlie Cameron around. So, like I said, if there's anyone that knows, it's going to be Fags.
Fags has also been relatively, and this will sound vastly unpopular given people's view of his relative inflexibility, he's always been slightly ahead of the trend in a way that seems like he's not, if that makes any sense whatsoever. So when we look at it and go, well, when the 666 came in, he basically had the two best wingers in the competition for the 2 years running. He identified that would be a position that would be very important, that sort of a thing. But yeah, I think it's hard. The two ruck thing is hard, and whoever's going to pinch in with a bit of ruck time is, is it the sort of thing where we end up foregoing the second ruck and just competing at ground level? Could be possible. Sam Day being there, I mean, I don't know. It's an unknown quantity. I don't know the guy from a bar of soap. But yeah, the narrative is there to be written, and it is ironic, and it's fickle, and it's everything that the Victorian media are. So do we expect anything other than that? I think we'd be probably less worried had Hipwood not had osteitis pubis in the off-season.
That's a big one.
Because he was Hipwood, and then he got suspended, came back and was amazing, and then got injured and was not very amazing. But then kicked an amazing goal. So, yeah, you'd rather him not have that, but things can change. You can make do with what you got, and we showed that we could do that pretty bloody well last year. So,
yeah, I said, I think Sam Day will get first crack at that role of the key forward backup ruck, because just going off what we've known over the last 12, 18 months is we do like a designated ruck with someone else that can play ruck in that second forward, and Joey filled that role absolutely beautifully. And it's going to be up to Sam Day to play that for now. And like I said, Henry Smith as the long-term prospect.
What we saw in that horrendous game against Hawthorn, well, I mean, last year's one wasn't as horrendous as the year before, but last year where we had Brandon Ryan and Logan Morris and Hipwood as Danaher as that kind of like, it didn't quite work. It was a bit too inexperienced, which is where I think like it's probably wishful thinking to assume that it'll be like Ty Gallop and Logan Morris running out on round one. It would be cool, but I just don't necessarily think it'd work. You need a little bit of an anchor in that forward line. And certainly Link McCarthy has the ability to kind of direct play. He's a structure guy when he's there. And without him as well, you're kind of looking at it going, well, Lohman's not super structurally astute. Charlie Cameron's gotten better with that. It could be a bit chaotic in there, and not in a good way, I think. Yeah. So
the other thing is Fags has had enough time to consider. He's had 12 months on it, basically everyone, of what to do, and the list management have had more time than anyone else to preempt what's going to happen and how they can plan for this as well. So I'm going to have to put my faith in the coaching staff on this one, because they've had more time to do it. He's been in this exact position before, and he's won us a flag. So, I've got no reason to doubt him at this point. So it's just going to be a bit of wait and see over the first 5 to 10 weeks of the season of what that looks like. But I think Sam Day or Darcy Fort will probably be playing playing first in the first few weeks, that's for sure. All right, Ross, question for the next podcast. Will BT have to start calling Southeast Queensland the Footy Factory, given the Lions and Suns recruiting and development players they've gained from academies and Palm Beach High? Are the Vic clubs simply whinging because of their own error or not looking closely enough? Well, I can't ever imagine BT referring to Southeast Queensland as the Footy Factory. And you know what? The good news is I don't have to listen to BT this year. I don't have to listen to him ever again, basically.
Oh, I mean, you would on a Thursday night.
Why would I?
He's gonna, because he commentates on Thursday night.
Yeah, but I'm probably going to nominate Fox.
But they're only doing, I think, Waitley on a Friday night.
That's fine.
So you might be stuck with BT.
Maybe. I'm going to give Fox... here's a little pun. I'm going to give Fox first crack at this one.
Oh, God. Fair enough. Good choice. Footy Factory, no. Vic clubs just sour graping it. Yeah, I think they are. And I think with the, we talked about this last year with the father-son stuff. It's pretty bloody convenient that they just forget it when it suits them. Yeah. And, I mean, you have things like the Camporelli boys, like, they went at such low draft picks and they were quite highly touted, but because they come from
that's right.
South Australia, it's like, they should have been way higher from at least, reading stuff about them. And they went at like 50 or 40 or something. So, I don't know. Carlton have some sort of weird draft crew that do good shit. So, good on them.
It was a good sign. It was a good sign that Geelong bid on Ty Gallop. Like, I do take that as a really good sign, because Geelong don't miss.
Yeah, it's probably, it's positive affirmation, but I think on the whole, Vic clubs probably need to take a closer look. But we don't necessarily want situations like we did with Fletcher going, probably, was it 4 picks higher because the Bulldogs were kind of bitter about Josh Dunkley moving to us. So you don't want that kind of stuff happening where they're just bidding on academy players at high draft picks just to kind of force the hand of who's picking them. I mean, teams like St Kilda that had their next gen boys come in quiet as a mouse, but as soon as it's the other clubs that are finally getting like structure and funding into footy in the right ways, in the same ways that it is down in Victoria, like just shut up and get on with it and draft your people. I mean, no one's ever really had go home factor going back the other way from Victoria. Like, yeah, sure, someone's going to be like, this guy did this, but nah, not really.
All right, next question. Aussie bloke, when did the players know about Joey's retirement? I couldn't tell you.
I'm not a player, so I don't know.
But they obviously knew grand final day, at least. At the very least, they knew grand final day. I'm sure some knew beforehand, throughout the season, if Joey was particularly close to certain people. I don't know.
Do you reckon that weird cult circle knew? The one with like Froggy and
Dunkley and Froggy and Harris and stuff. Yeah, probably.
I called them a cult circle. I'm going to stick with it.
Well, yeah, I think there was a certain group of leaders, like the senior figures that Josh Dunkley got involved with. Yeah, I reckon they would have been the first of a playing group to know. Fags obviously knew. Danny Daly, I can imagine, knew early on. The list management team knew, recruiting stuff, all that sort of stuff. The players obviously knew for grand final day, and you could tell that by the way when he kicked that goal and everyone got around him. So they obviously all knew by that stage.
Yeah, don't remind me.
All right, here's a couple of questions that similar in nature. Bronny and Supersonic. Bronny says, how's Hippie going in terms of returning to play and his importance in the team? Supersonic, has Hipwood become our most important player now? We have cover in other positions, but if Hippie gets injured, the loss of him and Danaher is impossible to cover. Keep up the great work again this year. I'll be listening in every week from Ireland.
Oh, shit. Well, top of the morning to you.
Yeah.
You might have to cut that out.
No, it's in now.
Now, I think we need to stress this at the start of the season. This is a fan cast. We do not have intel. Brooksy might have his weird fitness coach guy that knows a few things. I certainly know nothing. So the insider knowledge on Eric's status, don't know, can't tell you. Is he our most important player? Possibly.
Possibly. Because we know he can play centre-half back as well, so he's the ultimate swinger. Now, all the talk was that, he's progressing okay, but then again, he didn't play match sim. I'm not sure if we'll see him Thursday night. So it obviously isn't going swimmingly if he did play last week. But yeah, it is going to be a bit of watch and see. I think he'll be there for opening round, regardless of fitness levels. How much of a preseason he's had as well is a tough one, and in a season where he probably needed to put in a big one as well. I don't think it's impossible to cover Danaher, as we sort of touched on. Fags has been there. We're going to need to spread the load in terms of goal kickers, and I think people, it's a 15th of bloody footy to go on, but Logan Morris and Ty Gallop's progression is enough to give people a little bit of confidence. And then if we can potentially land a key forward at the end of the year, the one with a little bit of pedigree behind him, then sure, right back.
Let's also not forget that Charlie Cameron's goal output was significantly down last year comparative. So if that spikes, it's probably fine. And it's also worth noting as well, Hipwood and the forward line, although they had Dan McStay there as well, it did function before Joe relatively well. I think probably we were doing a bit of Big O and a bit of Steph Martin for a time.
Yep.
But Hipwood probably had a better goal output, and I'm probably, someone again will be like, he kicked one more goal last year or something like that. But he had quite a good output and was a bit of a game breaker in some of those 2019, 2020 kind of games and things like that. So I think he functions as the lone wolf forward pretty well. I think Hipwood's quite good one-on-one and his athleticism works. So, we just have to wait and see.
All right, Ben, what sort of goal return this season does Ty Gallop need to finish with us to make sure we don't need Oscar Allen? So what sort of a season does he need to have for us to go, you know what, we don't need Oscar Allen? And I think it's going to need to be pretty significant. He is in his first year of footy. I can't see him playing a huge amount of games this year. But I probably would have said that about Logan Morris last year as well. So,
that's a really difficult question, but it's a curious question. Do we know how many goals Logan Morris kicked last year?
Not off the top of my head. I'd have to imagine 20s. Rough estimate, 20s, maybe 30s.
Unfortunately, it's hard to get to my keyboard, so I typed in Logan, and I can't really get to the other part, and it's trying to make me search for Logan Paul. So that's not good.
All right, quick one. Logan Morris, games 19, goals 24. That sounds about right.
About a goal a game.
Yeah.
A bit more than that. I can't see Ty Gallop playing more games than Logan Morris did. I just can't see it happening.
Maybe they're going to be fighting for that same spot this year, depending on... Like I said,
I'd say 10 goals, not to stop us getting a more established forward, but 10 goals would be a good return for him. That I'd be like, this guy's good. Yeah. You're looking for moments, and you're looking for intent for young first year players.
Yeah,
you don't necessarily need the consistency. You don't need Will Ashcroft is a cut above, so that was the sort of thing where you're getting moments and you're getting consistency. Even with Levi, I'm sort of going, if we can get some cool, good moments out of it and good intent and good, patches and good bursts, that's kind of all you really need from first-year players, in my opinion.
Yeah, and, how he handles himself with a bit of body contact in a contest. Does he halve a contest? Does he just get shoved out completely? It's that sort of stuff you're looking for. And, of course...
A bit like that video you put up on YouTube with the Starcevic thing.
Yeah.
Where you look at that in his first handful of games, and you go, "That's potential there of what a player can be going forward." And it's interesting when you put something up like that up, and you go, "Well, the signs were there," and then you look at where he is now. It's great analysis. I'm annoyed Fox didn't pick you up.
What I will say, touching back on that match, Jim, very first 10 seconds of our game against Collingwood, centre clearance from Ashcroft, goes in, and our first contest in the forward 50 is Logan Morris completely dispatches of Darcy Moore and takes a mark inside 50, which was pretty impressive from someone who, he's a handy mark, but he hasn't had that size behind him, whereas Ty Gallop looks more of your Jonathan Brown type of key forward rather than your sort of leaping marking.
I've got a question for you. I asked this to my brother earlier on in the week. I said, if you were an up-and-coming forward, like a young forward, would you rather go to a club that had the best forwards or the best backs?
Well, it's a tough one. The best backs you get...
I think it's easy. I think it's an easy answer.
Well, the best backs, you're competing against the best and learning how to beat the best defenders, and potentially...
That's the correct answer.
Yeah, and there's potential for game time. Best forwards, you're learning off the best forwards as well. So there's pros and cons for both. Definitely.
I think if you've got someone playing on Harris Andrews, Payne, Leicester, Starcevic... they don't have to play against those guys in real life, so it's a bloody jamboree at that point in time. So
yeah,
maybe that's what we're seeing.
Yeah, probably. And look, I am excited to see what happens with Ty this year. It'll be a good sign if he doesn't get much game time, because it means our forwards are working, and it means Logan Morris is having a good season, and it means Hipwood's playing well, and it means Sam Day or Darcy Ford, whoever's taking that role, is filling that role and playing it well, and it means Link McCarthy and Al Chi and Rayner and stuff are all doing their job. So, but on the flip side, I'm excited to see him in an AFL season and what he can do against you Jacob Wiederings and Sam Taylors and the like that as well, because he's an exciting prospect for the years to come. Ty Gallop.
Someone said earlier on that he's too short to play second ruck. Now he's probably still growing, right? His kids grow until they're like
22, 23.
He's 20,
give or take, yeah.
So he's listed at 194. Now Dan McStay was not a terrible second ruck, and he was only 194 in terms of big body getting in the way, a bit Hawkins style,
yeah,
bit like that. So it's not the sort of far-fetched thing longer term you're looking at, but. Yeah, we'll wait and see. So
and look, if he is young, and Logan Morris is young as well, and who knows what's been going on in this off-season. Maybe the coaching staff, Ben Hudson and, Fags have put it to these guys as well as, hey, it wouldn't hurt for you guys to learn to ruck, second ruck, even if it's just forward 50 stoppages, to learn that role, because it's a role that needs filling. So you never know.
Well, because that's the thing, right? It could get into a viable situation where you don't necessarily have to have Big O in forward 50 rucks, and then he doesn't have to worry. You don't necessarily have to have that second ruck going into the centre bounces. I also saw you spill all that water there, so sucked in.
Yeah, he does, and they don't necessarily have to be a great ruckman. They've just got to compete. They've just got to be a body in the way.
You said half the contest before, and I agree. That's the sort of thing. Anything above that's a big asset. So, any other questions?
Yes, one. Speaking of your brother, this one comes from your brother John. What do you guys see? And it's on the back of what we've just been chatting about. What do you guys see?
Can I say? Thank goodness it's not a speak pipe, because that was insane ramblings last year.
What do you guys see as the second infield ruck option now that Joe's gone? There doesn't seem to be a straight, obvious answer. What do you guys think? And we have sort of danced around it, and I'm sticking with it. Sam Day he will get the first crack at it. He'll play this Thursday, I would imagine, and probably opening round. It will be his first up. You might see Darcy Fort play that second ruck forward option, and as the season goes on, you might see Henry Smith in that one as well. Or
could we see Charlie Cameron?
No.
He had that one hit out last year.
That's right. And Josh Dunkley, as we know, has played ruck before as well, so who the hell knows?
So I wrote Dunkley on third on my list. So I had Fort, Day, Dunkley, Gallop, Morris, and then, I don't know, Daryl White. Is he doing anything?
You never know. No? Like, it might be a case of like, well, if it's in the D50, Jack Payne might take him. If it's in the forward 50, Hipwood, you cop these ones. Or Logan Morris.
I mean, Hipwood's done a little bit as well, not much, and didn't look great whilst doing it. But I'm pretty sure Ashcroft kicked that goal in the grand final off of a Hipwood forward 50 stoppage. So magic can happen.
Yeah, I think it's Sam Day's first up, and we go from there. In a nutshell, and we have spoken about that.
These questions are difficult because it's all theoretical, and
Well, it won't be theory for too much longer. We've got our second official pre-season match against Adelaide this Thursday night at Brighton Homes Arena, and then the opening round where the flag gets unfurled against Geelong, the prelim final rematch at the Gabba on the 6th of March. 6:50 kickoff for that one. All right, let's get to the unenviable task of the starting 23 for opening round, and I think you and we had a bit of a chat before this, and it's not going to be exactly controversial or very exciting because I've only made the 2 changes from our grand final team. McInerney in and Fort out. Sam Day in, Joe Danaher out. Noticeable absentees there are probably McCarthy, and who will probably be right to play for opening round if he's available for selection. And I've left Levi Ashcroft out. A lot of people would probably have Levi Ashcroft in that starting 23 at probably the expense of a Jasper Fletcher or a Connor McKenna, but Connor McKenna's my sub. Again, because he's impressed in this preseason in the intra-clubs and that match sim so far. His kicking was really, really good on Thursday night, I thought. So yeah, my 23 for opening round is pretty not that good, I suppose.
I mean, it's not good.
It's just no one's going to walk away from that going, oh, I can't believe he said that.
I mean, so I would say this. I'm kind of in line with you. We know that I love Noah Answorth, the Hoover.
Yeah.
But I could easily see him coming out and then Levi Ashcroft going onto the sub with McKenna going in.
It's not a bad shot.
And it depends on whether Hipwood is fit or not as to whether I think if Hipwood's not there, then I think Gallup might trot.
Yeah, I'd say so.
But that's...
We'll definitely...
I mean,
We'll definitely have a better idea after this Thursday night about that lineup, especially when it comes to someone like Eric Hipwood or maybe Darcy Fort, what sort of role Sam Day will play, if it looks a little bit more like what we can expect. Because that is what I'm expecting, is Hipwood is the forward, Sam Day is the second ruck. And
I want to stress this, make it clear, this is not the best lineup.
No,
this is what we think it will be in round 0. So I don't want any people saying that like blah 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 is this and da 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 is that, because it's not the case. If you want me to do a best starting 22, I won't, because it's really difficult. And I don't want to do that because I don't want to have to pick between my children.
Well, the time will come where we're going to have to choose between Tom Doedee and Ryan Lester, and you know I'm going to hate that.
I mean, we're not picking the team, so do we have to?
Well, yeah, each week we do it in ins and outs.
Oh, we do. Shit, I forgot about that. Oh, God, I've forgotten the format entirely. Now, I have a question, a bit of fun.
Yeah.
You know, trouble's not too far away when I say it's fun. Did you see on the Reddit the matrix that was like the good player, average player, bad player, loved by fans?
I did see that,
fans
yes.
Are divided. Well, he had some pretty significant players in there for our personal histories. I thought. I will. Do you recall who was there? I can go through it with you.
I can tell you. As we speak, I'm just saying, because I've logged on to Reddit to double check what you're saying there. The 100-day review draft report about the stadium has been announced, so I'm going to look into that later. So everyone that's listening may already know the results of that. I don't, but I will look into that.
I think it was like that's a good idea.
Good. All right, there we go. I do recall that Dane Beams was the good player, hated by fans. I do recall that.
That's correct.
I thought Daniel Rich was a little bit hard done by in the spot that he landed
literally
in.
the best one. Good player, loved by fans. It's the
Okay,
best.
maybe that wasn't the one I'm thinking of. Then I'm going to have to scroll down this subreddit. I'm vamping.
I can go through it with you, so I'll save you scrolling finger. So
Thank you.
had loved by fans. We had Daniel Rich. Froggy was the average player, and Matty Eagles was the bad player.
Yeah, okay.
Which
Maybe,
love that.
maybe it was Froggy that I thought was hard done by, because I thought he's turned into a good player. But yes, for the bulk of his career, he average player. It's hard to.
I think it's probably more the schematics a little bit, let's say, not super flamboyant. So it could be great player, average player. I mean, to me, I don't understand why we haven't got Michael Voss as a good player loved by fans. Like, that's insane. So must be some sort of recency bias there. So the fans are divided. We had Ackermanis as a good player.
Yep.
Mitch Robinson. Now, I had the second vote for the average player divided because I put in specifically Premiership player Eric Hipwood, and that just missed out.
Yeah, okay.
And the reason that I put it in there is because I didn't want any flogs on that Reddit to put him in as a bad player, because he is not a bad player. But speaking of bad players where fans will be divided, we have
Alex Witherden.
your good friend, Alex Witherden,
Hold on.
whom you sponsored.
Yep, hold on. People watching this on YouTube, this is for sponsoring Alex Witherden, my Alex Witherden signed Sharon official game ball that I got from my years of sponsoring the man himself.
Can we kick that one on the road?
I doubt this would pump up, if I'm honest. There you go. Listen to this. It's a ball that has been sitting in the sun for a while, not doing much, except being signed by Alex Witherden. Yep. Sure. So
that's a funny one. I gave away a 50-metre penalty from yelling that at you really loudly in a Community Cup game. I'll never forget that. Then we had, obviously, Dane Beams, self-explanatory. Then, so average player hated by fans, we got James Aish, which there's a funny story behind this too, where when I turned up to Community Cup training, you thought that I was a dead ringer for James Aish at the time.
That's right, yeah.
So that was my nickname from you for a while.
I wouldn't say
How time flies.
Is James Aish hated by fans? I thought people were sort of like, whatever.
I don't give a shit about James Aish, to be honest. I think he's perfectly cromulent. Average player hated, but I think Mitch Robinson is kind of... It's a weird one, and I suppose this is exactly what mixed fan reactions is, but people seem to forget that Mitch Robinson's career was over before the Lions took a massive gamble on him, because he was going nowhere fast.
Yeah.
So all of the blood and guts that he spilled for the club was, I think, adequate repayment. It wasn't.
Yeah.
I don't think it was the club that owed him, all in all. And
I mean, for me, it's Mitch Robinson off the field, Mitch Robinson on the field. I really like one of them, and I don't really have time for the other one.
Yeah. And then obviously bad player hated by fans, Josh Shackey, the Shack Attack legend himself, one of the worst players ever to be drafted by our club. What a waste of time.
What a waste of a pick too.
Yeah, that was a fun one. It was, there were some familiar faces, and I mean, just seeing Matt Eagles happy is pretty fun, gotta say. So, I thought that was cool.
Yeah, I mean, that was fun. Let's never do it again, having said that.
No, absolutely not.
All right, well, this time next week, we will have a bit more footy to talk about, and we will certainly have some footy to look forward to. Thursday night, Brighton Homes Arena, Adelaide, Brisbane, for the official pre-season match. Looking forward to seeing what the team lineup looks like for that one, and especially everything we've discussed tonight. That forward structure, who's going to get that role? Is Hipwood going to play? Is Link McCarthy going to play? Is Starcevic going to be back in that lineup? All those sort of things. We're going to have a much better idea of how things are going to be looking after Thursday night.
Yeah, absolutely. I would like to, given I said last week and in the off-season I've had a move. I've moved to Geelong. I've noticed a hell of a lot of Brisbane Lions Premier bumper stickers rocking around the place. So anyone who's Geelong-based, hit us up. Just not for any reason, just curiosity. Good to know that you're not alone. Yeah, just interesting to see where the communities are. Geelong's well, it's a much smaller community than Melbourne, but more sort of tight knit and in each other's pockets. So it would be good to know who is out there. Is there anyone out there? Answer yes. Do I know them? Answer no.
All right. Don't forget to get involved. BrisbaneLionsFanCast.com.au. Our footy tipping competition is there as well. Make sure you like and follow us on all your social platforms. Give us a review on Spotify and Apple or whatever you're listening to. Get involved. Interact with us in YouTube and stuff and get the podcast out there a little bit more. And, of course, a huge shout-out to Hop on Brewery Tours and Crisp Communications for making it all possible.
Are they new glasses?
Yes.
From last season? Do you miss your old glasses?
Probably.
Yeah. Maybe that guy was onto something after all.
All right. Catch you next week.